Bison Media Zone on WDAY Extra.
And welcome everybody to a new edition of the Bison Media Zone here on WDAY Extra. The Forum's Jeff Kolpak joining me. I'm Dom Izzo. We're 8 days out from the Bison opener at Colorado. A week from today, we're hopping on the airplane and heading to Boulder. I feel like we've been talking about this for 2.5 years, and finally we're here.
Well, first of all, looking at the opening, when's Dom Izzo bobblehead day? Because NDSU has made it known it's going to change things up this year. You know, only the Thunderstruck intro is sacred. Everything else, they're going to do some walk from the indoor facility.
You think anybody would want that?
Well, that's another question. That's a good question.
We can finally actually start talking about the Buffaloes. You good with that since we're about a week out now?
Well, what is to talk about the Buffaloes? I mean, you got Shadir Sanders and you got Travis Hunter.
Yep.
After that, we're really not sure. I'm going to sit down tomorrow. I think I'm going to do an Excel spreadsheet kind of thing, like who's in, who's out. It's really going to take 40 or 50 guys from last year to this year.
By the way, they've already lost a member of the coaching staff as well. The special teams coordinator resigned. I don't know if that's a good sign or bad sign. I'm not sure how to
typical
make it
sign. It's a typical sign of this program. Everything's just so in and out, so haphazard. And again, you have the components of the Sanders and then Travis Hunter, and then you got some veteran players coming in. But you know, I think we need to start at the offensive line.
Yes.
And we talked about this last week on this show, where you have all these new guys, and now can they mesh? And the head coach was asked about that last week, and he threw that curveball back into left field.
Yeah, that's a whole other deal there. Let's start with the Bison and a mix of news so far, Jeff. NDSU officially ended fall camp yesterday. We were out there open to the media for the last 2 days. Good sign, Barika Penu is back practicing after he got dinged up during the first week. He's got a large brace, as you'll see, on his right knee, but he was moving laterally. That was something that Tim Polisic wanted to see. He said that Dr. Pyatt was going to be up there later this week to give the full check, but it looks like the West Fargo Cheyenne star might have a chance to play in the opener.
Yeah, he has a chance, but Dom, I'm 75-25 on whether I'd play him. 75 being no, 25 yes. And just because you look at him, just because I have a brace, is a guy that needs a brace and a running back who's going to get hit every play, is that really worth risking the rest of the season? Now, again, I'm no Dr. Pyatt, and it's his call probably ultimately this week, but I just don't know if you want to risk one of your top guys in a non-conference game.
Yep. Let's dive further into the running back conversation. McFeely and I talked about it yesterday. You were there with asking about Peter Haugo. Eric Peterson asked a follow-up, and that basically let the top off for Tim Polisic to give his thoughts on where the running back depth is right now. And we've talked about this over the last couple of years. And clearly Polisic's not thrilled with where they're at right now.
No, and I think that was a question. He was ready for that question.
Yes.
I think he was totally ready for that question. I think he's not happy with after 1, 2, 3, you got TK Marshall, you got Penu, and you got Marty Brown. Those three are solid. After that, he was not happy with the performance of the running backs coming back. Now, Peter Haugo, yesterday he looked pretty smooth to me.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy who played at AA, which is the one step below AAA in North Dakota high school football, and he was a man against boys. I saw a couple games, and he was just way better. Now, you don't know how that's going to translate to Division I football, but man, he looked smooth. And when I saw him taking the stretch plays, and he looked fast, and Polisic said he liked his movement skills from day one.
So what's your gut tell you?
We may see him against Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
With Penu sidelined a little bit, and we don't know about him.
If you're giving percentages of Peter Haugo playing against
Well, I
Colorado,
think what I saw yesterday, 75 he'll play,
Wow.
25 he won't.
I would have lost a lot of money on that bet.
Yeah.
If Haugo playing, let alone at running back, not at linebacker, is what Matt Entz saw him to recruit him out of Fargo North. Because that was a question you and I got, I think, over the last 18 months about Haugo and how good he was at North, but knowing the competition level, knowing what he was playing against. But that would be a stratospheric rise if he's playing on the field in Boulder next week.
Well, that doesn't mean he's going to be a running back for the rest of his career.
Yep,
because
that's a
you
good
look at
point.
like DJ McNorton, he was a linebacker for a while before coming back to running back and leading the team to the 2011 FCS national title. Peter Haugo's an athlete. And, Esley Thornton started at quarterback before moving to linebacker. Right. So it doesn't mean that he's sitting there. But it's the best spot for him on this depth chart right now because they're solid at linebacker, and there's no way Peter Haugo is going to hit the field as a linebacker, maybe special teams, and maybe as a 1 or 2 carry kind of down guy at running back right now.
But this belies the problem of running back looking forward.
Well,
About
he knows
what they're going to do there.
He knows he needs to recruit that better, and that is no secret.
Yeah.
I mean, he just said we need to get upgrade the talent there. We need to get and that starts with recruiting.
You look back, and I was talking about this with Mike on my show yesterday. Kobe Johnson decided to enter the portal January of 23.
Who's still eligible this year?
Dom Ganella left in November of 22. They didn't address that with the prior recruiting class of 2022. They didn't add a back then. They didn't go in the portal, and now you're seeing that come back to bite them in the rear end here now in the fall of 2024.
Well, yeah, obviously what happened is they fell behind in recruiting and running back. And, and one thing about quarterback, they swore, you talk about Brent Vegan, I think it was after 2009, they never fall behind recruiting a quarterback. And so they try to sign 1, if not 2, every year. I just feel like they just never were able to keep pace in the running back, and you lose guys too. Losing Kobe didn't help matters either.
Especially when you thought he was going to come back.
But that's the portal.
Year.
I mean,
correct.
You need to anticipate losing maybe a running back or a skill player in the portal these days.
Every year probably have to anticipate that a guy's going to go. That's just the way it is. Now, on the injury side of things, Cole Wisniewski's still not practicing. I think we're both in the mindset he's not playing against Colorado.
Right.
Regardless of whatever the season holds, he's not playing in the season opener.
Right. Well, I think he hasn't even.
That ship has sailed there.
He wasn't even in any kind of pads yesterday, and I just don't know if he's going to play this year. The word is getting out that there's some serious questions whether he's going to play this year. And again, when the head coach last week said surgery is a possibility here, that's not a good sign either.
Now, the other news is on Hunter Brosio, another All-American. We found out on Monday that his career may be over as well, dealing with a foot injury. This is a guy that's an all-conference selection at both fullback and long snapper. I think you can stem the tide at fullback. I'm interested about long snapper because he's really proven his worth at that spot over the last couple of years.
It's going to put some pressure now on Caleb Bowers to be that guy. And if you don't hear Caleb Bowers' name this year, that's going to be a great sign for Bison fans. Now, the cruelty in Wisniewski and Hunter Brosio in not playing, certainly this week, if not the season, is both were named team captains this week. And how rare and unfortunate would that be? Unfortunate, I think, is understating it.
And Polasek is an emotional guy, but he was on the other side of that emotion Monday when he was asked about Brosio, that he was ready to break down, it seemed like.
He was certainly on the verge of tears, and his voice was wavering. And, that's Tim, man. Tim,
especially at that position, too.
Yep. It's a physical position, and, fullbacks in this program are revered. It's a badge of honor. They don't hardly ever carry the ball. Maybe an occasional touchdown pass here and there. But by and large, you're a blocker. You're just working. You work. Now it's going to put maybe Wehrmeyer.
I say Truman Wehrmeyer's next up. Logan Hofstad's there, but he's also banged up. He's got a bad shoulder. Truman Wehrmeyer's been getting more and more reps. I thought he had the chance to play more last season. He's shown his ability as a pass catcher. Young man from Fargo Davies maybe has a chance to hit the field a heck of a lot more in 2024.
Yeah, here's what I like about Truman. I mean, he grew up knowing this program, but you look at him physically. He's, 6'2", 245.
State champion wrestler, too.
He's got that wrestling balance. You love wrestlers at fullback because they have that balance, and they can get lower, and they have that good sense of gravity, I think, and understanding of how to use leverage. And he's big. I mean, he's a big guy. You want a big guy in that spot, and he's tough. He's tough.
I want to hit on the spot we talked about last week. Now, if we just assume Wisniewski's not a play, safety becomes even more important against the guy we're talking about in Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. That would lead me to think it's Sam Young along with Ryan Jones, with Darius Givens floating in there as well as the three main safeties for the Bison.
You know what you have with Sam Young and Ryan Jones? They've been around. This is a Darius Givens year. If the NDSU is going to be good at that position, Darius Givens has to be good. He's better athletically than those other two. I think he's bigger and faster and gives you a little more playmaking skills, in my opinion. And so if he's adapted to the system, and I think that was the issue last couple of years, is he just didn't quite understand the whole scheme of it all, and it's complicated, that this could be a year that he could really make some strides and put his stamp on the program.
Cornerback, it seems like Anthony Shadimi Alfaro is going to win one of those jobs. And then between Marcus Shepard hasn't missed a practice, and I thought Polisic was happy about that, and Jaquise Alexander out there. It seems those are the guys. By the way, Jalen Duffy is also in the mix, and Jalen Crumby is in the mix at the safety spot. So you're going to see a mix of names we know and some certainly new ones on the back end of the Bison defense.
But in the years that NDSU was such a dominant force in FCS, and they're still pretty good. I'm not saying they're not anymore. But they had like 3-4 cornerbacks all the time. I mean, you had the Marcus Williams, you had the shutdown guys through the years, but you also had 2-3 other guys that you could rotate
Smith
in.
Was out there, yeah.
But so I think Jaquise is going to be a shutdown guy. I think he's their best corner. And then you have, Anthony, who's probably going to start. But you can't do it with 2 guys. No. You just can't do it. That's a 12-game season. Don't forget about that.
Shepard and Duffy are another guys at cornerback to keep an eye on, and they'll have to somehow stop Shedeur Sanders, who just right now you'll love this. Early projections have him as potentially the 4th overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft in April. Obviously, as Deion's son, he played at Jackson State. Saw him a bit there. He is elusive, Jeff. He's got a tremendous arm, unbelievable speed. This is a heck of a challenge for the Bison defense to try and stop this guy.
Well, the question has come up: who's the best quarterback NDSU's faced over the years? This is probably going to be the top guy.
I would imagine this is going to be number 1 after this game.
If you're talking number 4 potential draft pick, that automatically puts him in that slot.
That's the ability to get out of the pocket, to make plays. And that's the thing. If the Colorado offensive line is bad, he may make up for it just because he can get out of the way of a defensive lineman.
Man, do you want to run your guy like that on the first game of the year against an FCS program?
He may have a choice, though, is what I'm saying.
Then it's going to be a long season for him if that's going to be the case against NDSU.
The ability to make plays with his legs is what makes him so elusive, and I think for the NFL at the next level, his ability to do that, get out of the pocket and make plays. And for a veteran defensive line, there's the one spot, I mentioned linebacker core as well, that have played a ton of snaps. They're going to have to stay home to make sure that guy can't get loose and make plays like that.
Well, and they've been around enough where, the Mostart boys, Dutenheffer, you got Dylan Hendricks. I mean, you have experience in the NDSU defensive line. And you could say about Cole Wisniewski not being able to play. We said this last week, that the best friend of a safety is your good defensive line.
I'm trying to think. I've looked up the stat. In the Division I era, the highest draft pick they ever faced was Trevor Penning. He was drafted 19th overall by the Saints.
And he was an offensive lineman.
He was an offensive lineman at Northern Iowa. This skill position-wise, and you look at the quarterbacks they faced, and that's something that's led to the success, and we'll hit this on Bison Game Day next week, that they have not faced a upper-level QB like this.
I'll throw one at you. Ken O'Brien from Cal Davis in the early 80s.
He was a first-round pick. He was. My beloved New York Jets. That's pretty good. Is that maybe number 1?
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
Think about it.
1983.
You need to get Tom Schockman on this show. You faced him.
We'll break. We come back. We'll get a look. FCS games begin this weekend, including a top 10 ranked team that's going to hit on the field. We'll get ready for a preview of the game in Colorado. We're back on the Bison Media Zone on WDAY Extra right after this. Welcome back, everybody, here on the Bison Media Zone on WDAY Extra. Back with the Forum's Jeff Kolpack. Yes, it is here. Week 0 on tap this weekend. First game out of the chute for the FCS will involve McNeese State and Tarleton State. Former Montana quarterback Clifton McDowell is now the quarterback at McNeese.
Is that his 7th team in 7 years?
He had 3 different teams this offseason. That's on ESPN2 on Saturday. ESPN in prime time, you have North Alabama and SEMO. That's the official FCS kickoff game, Jeff. You'll remember the Bison were part of that in 2015 and 2016. We've seen North Alabama. SEMO makes its first trip to Fargo next season. You have the MEAC SWAC game between Florida A&M and Norfolk State. And by the way, we've seen Delaware State. I don't know if you saw this. They missed their bus to make the trip to Hawaii yesterday. So the game is officially in question if they can make it to Honolulu for the game on Saturday
Delaware,
night.
that's the same team that was here.
I know.
When they were here for game day in, 2013?
Yes.
So they're at the Holiday Inn staying, and I got a friend of mine who's staying there, and they're all in the pool on Friday. They're in the swimming pool. And the guy goes, one of the players, and he goes, "What are you guys doing?" He goes, "We're going to get killed anyway. It doesn't matter."
They were definitely the appetizer that day for NDSU with College Game Day.
Good attitude. Good attitude going into that game, and they did get killed.
The highlight game, though, involves Brent Vigen and Montana State. I looked today.
Did you see that?
The
line
has changed again.
11.
It's now 11.5 that Montana State is favored.
Something's going on there.
Well, we know
with
New Mexico's bad. I mean, they're not a good football team.
But they went from 8 to 11.5 in the last couple days.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
Montana State's best running back, Julius Davis, is not going to play in the game. He didn't play, remember, against the Bison in the game at Bozeman in December. Tommy Mellott back. Boy, I have a feeling a lot of Bison fans will be keeping an eye on that game on Saturday afternoon.
I certainly will be, and I certainly will be, not only because Brent Vigen and his connections here, but just because
how good Montana State really is, right?
Yeah, and how often do you see an FCS that big of a favorite on the road?
Yep.
How bad can you get at New Mexico?
Well, here's the thing, and you've talked about it, I have for a long time, that if you are an upper echelon Missouri Valley Big Sky team, you can compete in the Mountain West Conference. I think that is
there's no question.
That illustrates that with what the line is for this game.
Well, if you're the Mountain West commissioner, that's got to be almost kind of embarrassing, isn't
Especially to start the season. Yeah. Like there would be eyeballs on that game that maybe they don't want if they're seeing one of their teams get blasted by an FCS
I could
team.
see New Mexico State. They've had some issues and
Jared
problems.
Hill was there to try and revamp that last couple of years.
Yeah, but New Mexico, that's Albuquerque.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool university. That's a good place. I mean, how can you not recruit to Albuquerque?
We'll find out, but that's one of the intriguing games to kick off the season. We'll talk about this more next week, but obviously the Bison have their game with Colorado Thursday, leading into next Saturday, Jeff, where South Dakota State, Oklahoma State, the UND Iowa State games, those are two certainly, especially with the Bison playing Thursday, fans around here will have their eyes on those two games a week from Saturday.
And obviously the South Dakota State Oklahoma State game is going to be the one big one. South Dakota State with its 29-game winning streak. The Jackrabbits win that. They have a clear path to tie NDSU's 33-game win streak, which would be second all-time in the FCS. And so
I think they got a heck of a chance to break the all-time one. I really do.
With Mark Gronowski, how can you not say they won't?
By the way, also earlier today, the Senior Bowl watch list came out. Cam Miller on that. I don't know if that's surprising, a little bit to me on that. Now, he's got to have a great year to get an invite there, but all intents and purposes, they're keeping an eye on him. The scouts have come back to Mobile and said, this guy might be worth it.
Well, why not? Because he completed 72% of his passes last year, and a team that won 11 games and almost made another title game. I think Cam Miller has solidified himself as one of the top quarterbacks in FCS. He's gotten better throwing downfield. Yep. He's gotten better throwing over the middle. And so, to me, I'm not really surprised.
Okay.
You look at stats and a lot of those things, and I think he qualifies there.
Before we go here, give me a player or two or position group or two that you're keeping an eye on for the Bison opener in Colorado.
Well, running back, certainly. I think that's going to be a big key. They're going to have to run the game to have a chance to win at University of Colorado. I mean, that is a slam dunk, easy. That's, captain obvious. So running back, Marty Brown is one guy. Mm-hmm. Can he be that guy? He certainly looks the part in practice. And so we'll see if it happens under the bright lights. That's one. And receiver, of course, is Bryce Lance kind of that guy now. He looks like it in practice.
Both of them have looked the part over the last month. Whether that translates to game, we're going to find out. And boy, it's against a team that got some. And it's not just Sanders and Hunter. They're going to get all.
Yeah, they're good on the back end,
share, but
on defense.
Shiloh Sanders, Deion's other son, is a very good cornerback as well. That's something to keep an eye on here for the Bison opener against the Buffaloes. A reminder, we've got live coverage for you coming up here over the next week. Our first Bison broadcast is tomorrow night. NDSU soccer team home opener against Alabama State. The Hornets are here, 6 o'clock. You can watch the game live on WDAY Extra. That's tomorrow night live on Extra. Also, our next Bison preview show, our second one, is on Sunday night, 10:35. Kyle Emanuel joins us. Get a look at the Bison defense, his thoughts on what NDSU has in store for Colorado. That's 10:35 Sunday night on WDAY. And then don't forget the season premiere of Bison Game Day in Boulder, 6:30. Note the start time. Note that. Don't miss it. 6:30 next Thursday in Boulder for NDSU and Colorado. Sam Getzinger joining us as the newest member of our team. Kyle, Jeff, and I. You're the reigning champ for the Pick'em. You got some hot picks to start 2024.
Oh, believe me, I'll let you guys know about that.
And we got some interesting games to pick to start the season noting the Bison game, the South Dakota State game, Youngstown and Villanova. Can't wait. Looking forward to that. Thank you for coming by. We'll see you in Boulder next week, all right? For Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching the Bison Media Zone here on WDAY Extra. We're back next Wednesday, and we'll see everybody in Boulder for the Bison and the Buffaloes.